Okay guys, welcome back. Got the Dragon here with Dragon Worx, continuing this part 2 of the SSR Motorsports 125 complete top end. Anyway, where I left off, I cleaned everything up here really good and got the valves cleaned up and got the head cleaned up here, the chamber, all that crap out there, and I went ahead and cleaned down real good inside there. But what I'm about to do now, before I get too crazy cleaning, is I'm gonna take these valves back out like I was telling you, and I'm gonna put some valve grinding compound between the valve and the valve seat, and it basically just machines these back together for a perfect fit, and you get better compression, better performance, and that's the way it's supposed to be. So stay tuned. That's what we're about to do. Okay guys, I'm going to cheat here a little bit. Old school trick. Some believe in it and some don't. But it's worked great for me for a long time. Basically, again, the valve's in here. So I have the valve in the seat. And I have the compound. You can see some on there. A little bit. Not a lot right now. And then listen. You hear that? So that's the compound grinding all the crud off, and it'll resurface it. So there's a lot of ways to do this. They make this little suction cup you stick on there, and then you spin it between your hands, but they never work. They always fall off. You can't really get good pressure. And then a lot of heads, what you can do is just put your drill right on the end of the stem of the valve and go forward a little, backward a little, forward a little. And it speeds up the process, and you can put a little more pressure on and get a better job. So my drill won't fit down in this hole, so I'm going to cheat. And I have an extension here, and I don't need to do much on this. Just a little forward, a little backwards, and it's going to be done. So it's just like basically, it's just a machining process. And I'm just using some general machining. Okay, guys, stay tuned. Okay, so there's what you get. A new valve surface. Seating surface, and the same thing in the port right here. Nice new mating surface, and that's good amount of area. That's what you want. Nice solid fitting. Now it won't refocus, guys, so there you go. That light gray, that's a nice area there. That's going to be a good seal. So, all right, we're good there. I'll do that to the next one. And then, once all the dirty work's over, clean this super good with solvent and soapy water and all that. I'll blow it out. And then, at that time, I'll get back to the valve seals, which are down in there, like I've been talking about. After it's all real clean, we'll pop them on, then put all the valves back in, the valve springs, retainers, and keepers, and the head will be rebuilt. So there you go. Stay tuned. Okay, after I shut it off, I thought maybe I need a little more explanation for some people who don't understand. But anyway, this extension that you see right here, I'm turning, like I was saying, that I attached it. It has these little set screws in here. Right there. With Allen, you can tighten them up, and then that's on the shaft. Okay, and then what you can do, okay, see the valve turns when I twist that. So with that compound in there, it grinds that surface and makes a perfect mate between the two. So you can just take this rod and, like you're trying to start a fire, and rub it between your two hands. You know, like picture that. So you're out in the jungle and you need to survive and you had to start a fire like that. So you can simply do that. You don't have to use a drill or anything. These really clean up fast. So you don't, some really hardened valves and Chevy engines and stuff like that, you almost need a drill for them to even start cutting. you have to get a good speed and be able to pull real hard. These are a little softer, so you really don't need much. You can just twist it in your hands. But anyway, okay, on to the next step. Okay, guys, like I was talking about in the last video, it's kind of hard to see. You probably really can't tell because of the way it looks really rougher than it is. But basically, I've polished this cam, the lobes, and you can still see the colors because of temperature. You're going to see that. But basically, what I mean by polishing is that it's not so much that this is going to look perfect shiny. This isn't a race bike. If it was, then I'd remove this cam, polish it. It's going to spend a lot of time at high RPM. But basically what I'm getting at is there is no roughness on this lobe at all anymore. There will be when you first open them up. Although it looks like there's marks, it's not. The surface is actually very, very smooth, and there is no more roughness or whatsoever. So that's polished up, cleaned up. Okay, so I'm about to put the valve seals back on, reassemble this head so I can move on. Just watch the other video as far as taking them apart and so forth. So this is, I'm going to get them back together here, and we'll move on to the next part. So once again, you just push that new valve seal down over its collar, and that's it. That's all you got to do. Then we're going to proceed with rebuilding this, putting all the springs and everything back on. Stay tuned. Okay guys, I'm going to see if I can do this with two hands, one hand, whatever. Old trick, old timers always taught me. Kind of hard to see down in there, but as far as putting these keepers back, the best way, once you compress that spring down and the valve stem is sticking up, then what you do is you put a little dab of grease on a tiny little screwdriver and see that keeper is stuck to it. Now I can pick that screwdriver up. That keeper will stay on there. Trust me, done millions of them. And then I bring it over here and I can point it straight down in there and squeeze it in there, and it'll stay and it'll hold there, and I can move this thing around. There's already one in there. It won't go nowhere until I release that pressure on my valve spring tool. Once I release that pressure, then the keeper will be seated and everything's good to go. So that's a little trick. People try all kinds of stuff. You just take a little bit of grease, even the cheap stuff, Walmart, little grease there, put a dab on your screwdriver, and believe me, that piece is stuck on there like glue until I release it. Somehow it works. So that's how you get them in there. I know this isn't a very good video of it because it's just so hard to see down in what's going on in here with no lighting in this camera. But once you do it, you'll see what I mean. And if you know what I'm talking about, then you get it. All right, stay tuned. Moving on. Okay, and once again, you can see the spring, the retainer, and the keepers all back in place. You can see those two semicircles I was telling you about. That's your keepers. They wedge down in there, and the spring tension keeps them locked in place. All right, that's the intake. I'm going to do the exhaust and start getting this back together. Okay, guys, this is where I'm at. Valves are back in. Valve springs are back in. Keepers and everything on. I got to reassemble the rocker arms and shafts. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and stop this one here, and then I'll start another one here in a bit when I'm doing this, and going to grab me something to eat. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Part 2 of the SSR 125 complete top end. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching.